Hold on. So we are really pretending a hallway rumor is the end of LeBron James. We're really acting like Shaq just crushed his legacy because of a podcast take. Nah. Today we're breaking this down, and I'm defending LeBron James strongly. Because some of these soft air arguments, they don't survive 5 minutes of real analysis. But let's get into this. Is this real criticism, or are legends just uncomfortable that the game evolved?
Lakers guards are rushing to hide the video, but everyone knows the truth now. Shaq just trapped LeBron in the hallway after that embarrassing loss to the New York Knicks, and things almost got very ugly. Everything began with this one big moment.
Because the game is different. Like, I want people to understand and our fans to understand that playing 82 games in the 80s and 90s is not the same as playing 82 games in the 2020s.
According to insiders and people who were there, Shaq was already waiting in the tunnel before the game even ended. He was blocking the locker room door like a giant wall. He asked one question that made the whole Lakers team stop moving. By this time, Rob Pelinka was scared and trying to keep the two stars apart. LeBron then realized that his new podcast clips did not just go viral. They started a fight with the only man big enough to crush his legacy. Wait until you hear the line Shaq used to silence LeBron's whole group and why experts say this is the end for LeBron.
They frame it like it's a movie scene. First of all, this is dramatic storytelling. Shaq blocked the hallway. The Lakers are hiding the video. But where's the actual footage? Question mark. Because right now, this sounds like fan fiction. And if this really happened, if this actually happened, why hasn't credible media reported it yet? We need to know.
Look, if you thought that podcast was crazy, the video the Lakers are trying to delete right now is much worse. We're talking about a night that should have been about playing for a long time, but it looked like a total disaster. It is February 1st, 2026, and the Lakers just got smoked at Madison Square Garden. They lost 112 to 100, and it was not even close. OG Anunoby and Landry Shamet were scoring on the Lakers like it was a practice drill. Luka Doncic had 30 points, while LeBron had 22. But man, he looked every bit of 41 years old out there. After the buzzer, he was walking through the MSG tunnel, probably thinking of excuses for his next show, when he ran into a literal mountain. Shaq was just leaning there against the wall, and he was not there to tell jokes. He was 325 pounds of scary 90s energy, and he was totally blocking the way. People there said the mood got very intense fast. Shaq did not even say hello. He looked LeBron right in the eyes and said something that made everyone freeze. How are you going to call this?
Bro, they said 112 points to 100. LeBron had 22 at 41 years. Let's pause. When did 22 points at 41 become embarrassing? Name one other 41-year-old player in NBA history doing that. Name. And his age being used as a weapon because people expect LeBron to be superhuman forever. How? And why? He can't be a superhuman forever. His prime was back then. Now he's just playing. He's growing. Obviously, bones become weaker. What do you expect? So don't blame him.
Hard when you play in a league where looking at a guy too long is a foul. Of course, LeBron tried to explain high-level basketball, talking about speed and how the game is faster in 2026, but Shaq was not listening to any of that. He cut him off and yelled back, "Speed does not matter when no one is allowed to touch you. You only talk about speed because you are scared to admit your body is old and you are playing in a soft era." Then Shaq went for the win. He talked about Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, and all the stars who missed games and used them as proof. Shaq's point was that in his day, you played until your bones showed. Today, these guys missed 3 weeks because they landed a bit funny. He straight up called LeBron crazy for his podcast take. But that's not even the wildest part. This fight got so bad that people had to jump in to pull Shaq away from LeBron. You had Lakers staff in suits trying to move a 7-foot tank while everyone else just watched from the shadows. And just wait until we look at the real stats from back then.
They say it's soft because you can't touch players. Okay, so better rules equals softer players. of smarter evolution. The game evolved because broken bodies don't help the league grow, and protecting players don't erase skill. So if the 90s rules were so perfect, why did the NBA change them? I mean, come on, that's the roots. Why didn't they change it? I mean, why did they change them rather?
Because what we found proves the 90s NBA was a totally different sport. But look, before we see that, you have to know why Shaq finally snapped. Shaq is the last of a dying breed. He is one of the only guys who lived through both worlds. He has seen the game go from real basketball to the soft, lazy game we see now. He started in '92 and fought with '80s tough guys who were trained to take your head off. He saw the hand-checking rules die in 2004. He saw the flagrant foul rules become a safety net and watched the floor open up until it could not stretch anymore. So when he hears LeBron say the game is harder now, it feels like an insult to every legend who had to fight for a layup. And do not let the speed talk trick you. LeBron likes to say the pace is higher today, but if you look at the numbers, he is just playing with math. Back in 1985, the average speed was 102. Right now, in 2026, it has dropped back down to about 99.5. We are talking about the 85 Nuggets running at a speed of 107, which would make modern teams pass out by the third quarter. What about
This is where God, they are comparing 1985 pace to 2026 pace, bro. But pace isn't the only factor. Today's players cover more space, defend 5 out spacing, guard from 30 feet, and they switch everything. That's a different kind of stress alone. So is physical contact the only definition of hard? What?
the Showtime Lakers, who were always over 100? The difference is they did it while getting hit, grabbed, and shoved into the front row. There was no free movement back then. There was only surviving. You want to talk about hard? Look at the Jordan rules. The Pistons did not just have a plan, they had a guide on how to hurt Michael Jordan without going to jail. If MJ went to the hoop, he was hitting the floor, period. There were no easy fouls for small contact. Now compare that to a superstar in 2026. LeBron spends $1 million a year on his body, using special oxygen tanks and private chefs while flying on jets with full-sized beds. Back in the 80s, Barkley and Magic were flying on regular planes, fighting for armrest space with fans and sleeping in normal hotels. Shaq pointed this out in 2025 when he said LeBron's long career is only happening because he plays in a soft era.
It's less physical, and he's always done this his whole career. He never really done that. So, but the fact that it's less physical, I think it definitely helps.
He was telling
Yes, the classical take. If you last long, it must be soft. Or maybe he invests millions in his body. Maybe sports science improved. Maybe he adapted better than anyone ever has. So is greatness adjusting to your era or complaining about the next one? I mean, come on, man.
the truth. If LeBron had to fly in regular seats and get hit by Rick Mahorn every single night, he definitely would not be playing at 41. Even the GOAT, Michael Jordan, spoke up about this in June 2025. MJ did not just doubt the fire in these players, he exposed the entire load management trick and said he missed the days when we had truly dedicated stars in the NBA.
That type of competition, that type of competitiveness is what I live for, and I miss it. I miss that aspect of playing the game of basketball.
Jordan played all 82 games in 9 different seasons, and Kobe Bryant famously played with a broken finger and refused to sit out. But today, LeBron's camp defends resting whenever a knee feels a little stiff.
Jordan played in 2 games. Yeah, respect. I give him that. But let's not ignore slower offensive schemes. No defensive 3-second rule. No switching 5-out offenses. No analytics error. These are different demands, bro. LeBron has led teams in minutes deep into his 30s. Let's not rewrite history. Come on.
That is why Shaq's Netflix Power Moves list from earlier this year was such a huge statement. He was asked to rank his top 10 players, and he put MJ at 1 and Kobe at 2. LeBron, he slid down to 3.
Number 3, I'm going to go with the King, LeBron James. Number 2, I'm going with, rest in peace, Kobe Bean Bryant. And number 1, the greatest player of all time, is Michael Jordan.
And Shaq's logic was very simple. It is all about that killer instinct. Jordan did not need a show to tell you how tough it was. He just went out and proved it by crushing everyone in his way, no matter how many times they tried to hurt him. But if you think Shaq is the only one who is tired of the excuses, you have not heard what Paul Pierce had to say about LeBron's speed theory, because he did not just disagree, he went totally wild on him. However, look, the real reason Shaq finally snapped in that tunnel is not just about some podcast clip. It's because for the guys who actually built this league, LeBron is missing the one thing you cannot buy with $1 billion, the fear factor. Shaq has been saying it all through 2025 and 2026. He literally told the world nobody was scared of LeBron.
Now, this is key. They say nobody feared LeBron. Let's be serious. You don't go to 10 finals without teams building entire rosters to stop you. Am I making sense? So is fear louder or is dominance more silent?
I didn't think players really feared LeBron like they did Jordan.
I've never really heard any players say they fear LeBron.
Which is valid, because with LeBron, you respect the stats, sure, but nobody was losing sleep. Nobody was thinking, oh, LeBron is playing today. This is going to be a nightmare for me. But when you went up against MJ or Kobe, you knew they were coming to take your soul.
That's their time.
You were not just worried about a loss.
Everyone is
You were
different.
terrified of getting embarrassed and having your spirit broken in front of everyone. Now, just imagine how the league moved from that warrior energy to the soft buddy-buddy podcast culture we've got now. LeBron is out here doing pods with Tyrese Halliburton, laughing and joking like they're at a summer camp. It's a total shift from the 90s, which is why in Shaq's list, he made it official. MJ at number 1, Kobe at number 2, and LeBron at number 3. Shaq played with both of them, and he's telling us that if you need a bucket to save your life, you're calling the Mamba, not...
Doing a podcast makes you soft. Media access is weakness now. Jordan literally controlled his own image in his era too. This part is generational insecurity, if you ask me.
the guy who's worried about his brand and being everyone's best friend at 41 years old. And if you think the 90s were just slower, go back and watch the 1989 Pistons vs. Bulls series. Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, and Charles Oakley were not playing defense. They were doing the closest thing to an actual assault charge. Bill Laimbeer was always there to make sure Larry Bird left the court with an injury or two, which was just standard basketball back then. And guess what? Larry Bird still showed up the next night, ready to dominate the court again. If all of that happened today, you'd probably get an automatic ejection and a 3-game suspension. But you would think at this point, LeBron would have learned to shut up and respect those who came before him. But no, this guy actually had the nerve to say on that podcast that calf injuries are the new high ankle sprains.
I think when I first came into the, to the league, Reese, some of the biggest concerns of injuries was like, a high ankle sprain. You was afraid to step on somebody's ankle because there was 4 or 5 guys sitting in the paint. Because it was 4 or 5 guys sitting in the paint. And if you land on somebody's ankle, you get a high ankle sprain, you out 4 to 6 weeks. Now, that's not really much you don't really see that as much now because the game is so spread open, it's so much pace. But now you see the new high ankle sprain is the calf.
Think about this. The game is moving so fast now that small hurts are somehow as painful as the hits stars took in the 1990s. Shaq almost went crazy at that idea.
Bro, you can't be comparing then and now. Man, players back then, I give it to them, I'm not disputing, they were really in beast mode. The food they ate, the conditions, the type of life they lived is completely different from today. And I won't say it's actually worth it for the present players to act weak, but they aren't even acting weak, bro. No. Back then and now is different. The times have changed, so they are not acting weak. It's just circumstances that happen.
Mostly because he spent years being chopped down like a giant tree. What about Isaiah Thomas?
Do you recall what he fought through in the 1988 finals? Isaiah was playing on just one leg, literally limping with an ankle that looked like a giant fruit, and he still scored 25 points in just one quarter. But according to LeBron, his time with rest days and huge money is much harder. Oh, and his other big excuse is that the 1980s NBA was just 4 slow guys standing in the paint, like they were just out-of-shape players. But Shaq took that as a personal insult too. You're talking about Hakeem, David Robinson, and a young, fast Shaq. These were not lazy players. They were scary hunters. They were 7-foot stars who could run the whole floor and guard the rim in a way that would make these new big guys look like little kids. Well, Shaq was recently asked by NBC News for his dream all-time team. He picked MJ, Kobe, Karl Malone, Larry Bird, and Hakeem Olajuwon.
So if you had to do your all-time NBA starting 5, do you have one?
Kobe and Mike.
Okay.
That's the 1 and the 2. The 3, I got to go with Bird.
Okay.
4, I got to go with Malone. And 5, I got to go with Hakeem.
You left somebody out.
No.
He left LeBron out entirely. He even left himself out as well. Yeah, that's
Shaq picking MJ and Kobe isn't shocking. He won rings with Kobe. Now that's loyalty. But leaving LeBron off doesn't erase all-time scoring leader. 4 rings, 10 finals, 20 plus elite seasons. So if legacy is erased by opinions, was he strong to begin with?
how serious this is. When the person asked him about LeBron, Shaq didn't even blink. He basically said that if he's building a team to win, he needs guys who aren't worried about their podcast downloads. But if you think Shaq was the only one ready to go crazy over those podcast clips, you clearly didn't hear what I said earlier about Paul Pierce's reaction. Because the truth did not just disagree, he basically took LeBron's whole speed and pace theory and threw it in the trash on live TV. Pierce got on his new show, No Fouls Given, and he looked like he was about to jump through the camera. He's sitting there with Danny Green, who was actually trying to defend the new game, and Pierce just cuts him off mid-sentence. He goes, "LeBron is talking about speed, man. We played in the 2000s when you actually had to fight through a screen. Now you just switch, fall asleep, and call it smart defense." Pierce's whole point is that this speed LeBron is bragging is fake because the refs don't let you touch anyone. Back in the day, if you try...
How would you say he's bragging about speed, man? Bro's playing by himself, man. I don't know why the comparison keeps coming. Like, why? Why does he have to be so, bro? It's really, really crazy because this is whole different level, year, and season. I mean, come on. It's almost a decade, or it's even a decade now compared to back then.
To run a high-speed play without a plan, a guy like Ben Wallace or Kevin Garnett was putting you into the basket pole. There was a physical cost you had to pay just to cross half court. And look, you have to remember the history here. This is not just some random old man talking. Pierce and LeBron have been fighting since that 2008 playoff series where they both scored 40 on Game 7. That was when the NBA still had some grit and that 90s warrior mind. They used to spit at each other in the preseason, literally. And Pierce has never forgotten that LeBron had to go to Miami just to finally get past him. To Pierce, LeBron is trying to act like the game is harder now because it explains why he's struggling to keep up with the young stars in 2026. And when you think about it, you begin to wonder, for someone who used to be so tough in his prime, how come he's asking for a soft era now, exactly at a time when he's getting too old for the game? Pierce even said more, saying the switching defense today is basically a cheat code for lazy superstars. In the 90s or the 2000s, if you were guarding a star, you stayed on his hip, you fought through the hit, you moved under the screen, and you dealt with the pain. Today, you just point at your friend, switch the player, and hope the other guy misses a wide-open three.
Yeah, mentally
so many times I'm bruised up after the game. My shoulder hurts.
It's definitely more physical.
It's hurting.
So why were more guys playing 75 games a year then?
Because it was tougher. Well, now you're switching everything.
He finished the talk by saying today's basketball is just too clean.
He told Danny Green right to his face that stars only get these huge stats because the tough enforcer players are now gone forever. You can no longer play like Charles Oakley or Rick Mahorn because the league would kick you out by November. But here is the part that really shocked everyone. On January 29th, for the first time in 21 long years, which is a whole lifetime in this sport, the NBA named the All-Star starters, and LeBron James was missing from that list. Just imagine how wild that is. This man has been a locked-in name for the All-Stars since most of us were still kids in school. But the league has finally moved to a new chapter. Luka Doncic is now the main star for the Lakers, and the fans, the reporters, and the players have all pushed LeBron into the past.
Ninth place in voting at 41, and somehow that's proof is washed. Really? Or maybe that's proof the league has new stars, and that's normal. Yes, every era moves on. Tell them to accept that. That's not exposure. That's time. Trust me.
In the final voting for the Western Conference big men, he tied for 9th place with only 3 media votes and ended up 9th overall. 9th place. That is like being told it is time to leave the house. And to be honest, nobody wants to watch a 41-year-old player slowing down the team anymore. This story he tells about the game being harder now is the only trick he has left. Think about it. If the game is truly faster and more physical as he claims, then why are players staying in the league until they're 40? In the 1990s, the game was so rough that it broke your body by age 33. If you played 40 minutes of what felt like a real wrestling fight every night, there is no way you...
Here's the truth. The league changed not because it got soft, because it got smarter. More spacing, more skill, more versatility. And LeBron survived through all of it. From hand-check era to super team era. To pace and space era. Bro, that's not softness. That's adaptability. Yeah, respect to Shaq, respect to MJ, respect to the 90s. But we're not tearing down one legend to protect another. The game evolved, and LeBron evolved with it. So now I want to know, is this about basketball or is it about protecting nostalgia? Drop your take below. Are you team evolution or team back in my day? How do skip here? Subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next one on Wednesday. Thank you for locking in with me.